So I'm Casey Bond, and I write primarily young adult fantasy books. I do write new adult as well, and I like to write like strong female characters, morally gray characters, enemies to lovers, like forbidden romance, all the fun things.
I love that how all strong your female characters are and how they're leading ladies in books.
Thank you. I think it makes it fun and dynamic to write characters that have these like circumstances that they kind of like have to rise from and like learn from and grow. So it makes it fun to write, and that's kind of what I enjoy reading. So it sort of lends itself to that sort of just became like a thing in all my books. So
What inspired you to write the Peter Pan retelling, the Last Lost Girl?
I like to write retellings. I've written several, and I thought Peter Pan would be interesting because, I mean, I grew up loving that story and loving all the like, sorry,
Right.
my phone like cut out or did something, but I just grew up loving all the little elements, like the fairies and the mermaids and how whimsical the world was and the pirates, and I thought it would be really fun to do something unique with the shadows, but bring all those elements into a world and like make it creepy. So
It's
I just thought,
definitely one of my favorite retellings that I've read.
oh, thank you. I like to twist things. I think it's fun to kind of, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. This thing keeps flashing. I don't know what it's doing. It just goes dark really quick. But I just thought it would be really fun to do something new with something we all kind of know. So
What drew you to writing in the first place?
I'm sorry.
What drew you to writing in the first place?
I cannot hear you. I'm so sorry.
What drew you to writing in the first place?
Oh, got you. I really always loved writing in general, just like in school and things. And my mom has encouraged me, like she encouraged me to write my first book. She was like, you really love reading, you were really into these stories, why don't you just try your hand at it because you've always loved to do that. And so I did. I was just like, okay, let's do this. And then I kind of, caught the bug, and like I just really enjoy trying to write like a better story than I've written before. So it's like a challenge and it's fun, and they say that if you do something you love, you don't really work a day in your life, you know what I mean? So it
Love
kind of feels like that. Like I really enjoy what I do, and the whole process of crafting a story is just super fun for me.
Uh, how do you choose which character to center the story around?
I don't know if it's necessarily a choice. Usually when it is, I guess, a subconscious choice. But usually when I start thinking about a story, I start with a character and I just have them in my head, like Ava and the Last Lost Girl came to me. Like I was thinking about like what it would look like for somebody to have been in Neverland and kind of like escape it. And so it started with her, and then everything sort of swirls around her, like in my mind. So it starts with a character, and then the world sort of builds around her, and like how she fits in it, and how it, how she's going to survive it, really, because Neverland is kind of crazy, and so is everybody in it. So, like that's one example. But I always start with like a character in mind, and just I want something interesting, and like I said, somebody strong, and who can grow and develop through the story and just have fun with it.
You can really see it in your all your books as well. My favorite
Thank
book
you.
that I've read of yours was with Shield, Ink and Bone.
Oh, thank
That's my
you.
it got me into like all the Vikings and everything. So yeah, that was
Oh,
it's been one of my favorite ones.
it's really fun if you think about like, the mythologies that exist and the history and just sort of bringing all that, like it's almost a retelling in a way because you're bringing things that are real and that exist, but you're making like a twist on it and doing your own thing and bringing it into your own fantasy world. So I really loved writing that book. I just thought it was really like fun to kind of like get into the atmosphere that would have been, back in the Viking times. And I just thought it was neat because it's history fascinates me. Like I'm obsessed with like ancient Egypt. I love Egyptian everything. But there are lots of different historical cultures that I just think are really fascinating and to learn about. So,
What is your process for writing your books? Does it change depending on the book?
um, it it's not necessarily the book. I guess I have the same process, but just depending on my time and what I've got going on in like daily life, it may take a little longer, or I may have more time and it doesn't take me as long to write the book. Does that make sense? So, I usually start with a concept and then try to, I don't really plot like every single detail, but I try to like outline the main plot points. And that way I have like sort of a map. And then when I start writing, I just sort of take let the character sort of take over and get me to the next point. So I know where they're going, but I have fun when they sort of, I get their personalities hopefully right. And then they take me in that direction. So I'm hitting the points that I want to get to in order to get to the end, but it's fun along the way. And it's sometimes I like get surprised by what they do, and but it usually is really fun. And then at the end, of course, the editing, all the edits happen.
Did you have a favorite moment to write in The Last Lost Girl?
I think the ending is my favorite. And I will apologize now. It is a cliffhanger, but I love cliffhangers. So to me that was like super fun because it's a pretty big twist at the end. So um I don't know. I like things like that. I like it when like my favorite book is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black.
Yeah.
And I love it. At the end of that book, I wanted to throw it. I was so mad and upset. I was upset at book two, and but it's like upset in the best way, like, oh my gosh, I have to wait for the next book. So that's the type of thing like I like to read. So The Last Lost Girls Cliffy was fun to write.
Gets everyone ready for the book too.
Right, right. Like what's happening? Yeah.
Which of your characters do you relate to the most and why?
Um, I would say that's a hard question. I would say maybe Sable in When Wishes Bleed, because she's sort of outcast a little bit. I think all of us sort of feel like that at some point in our lives. And so but she overcomes that. She's brave and she's courageous enough to step out of her comfort zone, and even like the expectations that are kind of put up on her by her peers, and just do what's right. So probably Sable. Really relate to her the most.
How has writing and publishing books changed the way you see yourself?
Um, it's definitely I see myself as a stronger person. Like, I value everyone's opinion, but like, I really feel strongly about like, I enjoy what I write. So I understand some people love it, some people are not going to love it, but I don't let that bother me. I feel like that's sort of bolstered like my esteem in a way, just like feeling solid about my stories and that I'm happy with them. And it that's what matters too, because you could probably, I've heard people like almost drive themselves crazy about trying to please everyone, and you just can't. So I think that having like a strong foundation and confidence in what you're writing, then it doesn't let it doesn't like you're not gonna let everything bother you so much, you know what I mean? So it's just a little bit more confident, I think.
What advice would you give to a writer working on their first book?
Oh, I would say, not to give up, because a lot of people that start writing give up. And even if it's like, not going to win a Pulitzer Prize, like, right, if you finish a book, like, that is a huge accomplishment. And then also, like, your first drafts don't have to be perfect. Like, I always like, there's a graphic that goes around and I share it every once in a while, but it's like your first draft is shoveling sand into a pile. And your second is shaping it into a castle. So, it's about it is a process to like make it a story that kind of climbs out of your head, shine into something that, um, other people might enjoy, and then you might be able to sell, and um that you're proud of. And so I just think, just like, don't give up, and also like just keep your head down, keep writing, and write what you love, because if you're a reader and you're passionate about it, you're going to find people who enjoy reading it and that are passionate about it too.
You're always going to find the people who need to read your books, no matter what.
Yes, somebody out there needs your words. 100%.
Have you been given a piece of advice that has stuck with you through all your writing?
The one I often tell people as well is like, I was on we used to have this author like talk, like, and you could dial into this number, and it would be one or two authors, interviewing each other and giving advice. And so one particular month, Katie Regnery was on the phone call, and she's a very prolific contemporary romance author, and she was telling everyone, she was like, the number one piece of advice, and this has stuck with me, is that you stay out of drama at all costs. Like, don't engage, like, don't, keep things positive, because people have so much heaviness in their lives that they don't need that from you too. They need you to be like uplifting in your stories, to be your focus. And if you lose that focus and you get really negative, then that drags people down. And she's like, it's much better to be a light in the community than to put someone else's light out.
That's perfect advice.
Yeah. So that stuck with me. Like, I think that's really important
Definitely.
in general.
Do you have a favorite writing snack or drink?
I am a Diet Pepsi girl. I don't like coffee. I'm probably one of the weird people who I don't drink coffee at all, but I like Diet Pepsi. Not really snack, because I usually write like in the middle of the day, and then I'll like take a break for lunch and stuff. But like, I write while my kids are at school, so I'm like sitting here trying to get as many words in as I can. And of course, there's more to like being an author than just writing. There's a lot of like, you got to do your social media posts and your newsletters and all this other stuff too. I'm trying to plug away at all that while they're at school, because it's like it's quiet here and I can get a bunch done.
They're being kept busy at school, so you
Yes.
get all the important things done.
Yes, yes.
Do you play music while you write? And if so, what's your favorite music?
Sometimes. Sometimes it's like if I'm having trouble focusing, like, and I'm like struggling, I'll turn everything off just so that all I see are the words on my screen. And then other times, if I'm in a really good flow, I love to have like a playlist for every book, and I use that playlist and I'll just put it on like repeat. Sometimes I have like 100 songs on there, so I may not hear like another song for a long time, but I love like kind of like epic, like alternative music. Like, oh, Unsecret is a big one for me. Like, uh, I like Halsey. I love listening to Halsey. But like, anything that sort of goes with the theme or that reminds me of a scene in the book, it might be um like Long Live by Taylor Swift or something. I really like those fun, uplifting songs sometimes for certain scenes. And certain scenes that are more dramatic, I like more dramatic music. It sort of sets the tone and it keeps me, in the vibe. So yeah, I definitely listen to music a lot, unless I kind of am having trouble focusing, and then I turn everything off.
I like that with when I'm reading, I need to have some background music or something and just to help me sort of focus
Mhm.
when I'm reading. So yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to read in a silent room, I don't think. Nor right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my final question is, who has been the biggest supporter of your writing?
My family. I can't pick one of them. My husband, my kids, my mom and dad, like that, they're always, and then my extended family too. They're always like, what can we do to help? Like, what do you need? Like, go write if you need to. Like, what are you doing in your book? And they're always, asking me what's going on and being really supportive. And when I've got to go out of town, sometimes they go and help. And if they're not with me, then they're texting me like, how's it going today? what's going on. And so it's great to have their support and their love. It just means the world to me.
I love how families are always the biggest supporters no matter what you do. They're always like your
Yeah.
number one cheerleaders.
Yes, it's awesome.